All right. Good evening and welcome to the November 18th, 2025 Zoning Board of Appeals regular monthly meeting for the Village of Ossining. This is a public hearing that is quasi judicial. I forgot to check. Jamie, can you give us a hand raise if you can hear us? Awesome, thank you. We're using a hybrid format for today's meeting with the public invited to attend either in person or online via Zoom. Members of the public attending online may use the raised hand feature like Jamie just did. If you'd like to make a comment, as long as that comment is for the application we're discussing at the time. Those attending by phone, if there is anybody, you'll press *9 and that will function as the raised hand. Comments may be emailed anytime during the meeting via plan@villageofossining.ny.gov. Again, that's plan@villageofossining.ny.gov. Maddie will be able to see those emails live. This meeting is already being recorded and a transcript will be available at a later date. Ground rules: when you come up to speak, please state your name and address, and please make sure you're signed in. I'm happy to have you start signing in now if you know you're here for the first application. And please limit your comments to the matter which is the subject of the hearing. All right, we are joined tonight by Taryn Ramey, our Assistant Land Use Counsel. We're joined by Jamie Kane online, the board secretary. I saw Joe Agostinelli, he's the building inspector. And we have Maddie here, who is our assistant village manager. Could we get a roll call of the board, please?
Sure can. Chris Asensio.
Here.
Michael Spall.
Present.
Brian Grano.
Present.
Chair Agarizic.
Here.
All right.
All right, with that being said, we're going to move on to voting approval for the minutes for the last meeting. Only the three of us can vote on that. Because you were here, and I was here. You weren't able to vote.
He can still vote in the minutes because he was present.
Oh, because he was present. Okay, great. Then we'll do that. Could I get a motion to approve the minutes from last month's meeting?
Motion to approve the minutes, Brian. Seconded, Mike.
All right, we got Brian and Mike. By unanimous consent, if there are no objections. Minutes from last month's meeting are approved. All right, now we're on to new business. This is for ZBA 22-2025 for 57 Hill Street. Applicant is seeking variances for minimum lot area, minimum lot width, front yard setback, and proposed tandem parking in the rear yard for construction of a two-family home. Come on down. The price is right.
Good evening. My name is Norm Yansa and I represent Westchester Market Construction, and we are working with Sun Yang, who is in contract to buy this property from the owners, Kendall Buchanan. And this sale is his sale is contingent on us getting these permits and a building permit. So that's why we're going through all of these right now. Like I said, we put in for these variances here on 57 Hill Street, which I'm sure most of y'all know where that's at and have been there.
We don't.
Oh, really?
I know from the plans and the pictures.
Currently a vacant lot.
Yes, it is currently a vacant lot.
Yeah.
And
But it's a paper street, right? I mean, it's not one that everyone would be.
yeah, it's a dead end street, but dead ends overlooking, of course, the Hudson over there. So very picturesque. I can, yeah. Put it up, I can even see. You come up Smaller Street and then turn, yeah, right there you go.
Oh, off of Market Street.
Mhm.
So a dead end off the
It's on
dead
the
end?
left, lower left-hand side there, kind of where those trees are. That empty lot right there. That's 57 Hill Street, owned by Kendall Buchanan. And because of the size of the lot and the T zoning, we're asking for these variances so that we can construct a two-family home, all within the correct sizing, etc. And
Just to help you out, to keep you from having to over-explain, just to save you time.
okay,
Do you mind if we go to the zoning worksheet?
Oh, sure.
To me, this seems like a simple application.
Yeah.
So I wanted to help everybody get on the same page and see if they had any questions. I did the same thing. and clicked the button.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to point out is we know that our lots are generally undersized area-wise. That's always an issue. And what we're generally looking for, even if a variance is required, is a reduction in the pre-existing conditions when you're doing new work. And this seems to indicate that you're doing that. Lot area, already undersized existing conditions, not changing. Lot is the size that the lot is.
Mhm.
Lot width in feet, it's same, no change to the lot width. When it comes to the setbacks, it looks like, proposed where, it looks like the requirement is 8. Oh my
This is
God,
a front yard setback variance, so the requirement's
Yep,
30,
yep,
they're
yep.
proposing 12, so the variance is for 18 feet.
all the rest of them, some of them you're on the money. And so
Yes.
it doesn't seem like there's much change other than tandem parking in the front
Yeah,
yard.
we're asking for some tandem
In the
parking
rear.
for that.
What'd you say?
It's tandem parking in the rear of the property.
Yes, tandem in the rear versus front yard, yeah.
No.
Just to, and then would you mind explaining for the board and the community the plans now, just pointing out?
Oh, sure.
So as you see on the left-hand side, there is the proposed site plan with a small asphalt drive and gravel parking in the rear, excuse me. We designed the structure to open up with a porch, covered porch to the west and entrances to the west because of the views over the Hudson. And yeah, and that's pretty much describes the site plan. I mean, we have parking in the rear. The second floor addition will have a sidewalk upstairs in the rear. The first floor addition can be actually, first floor of the building can be accessed off the street. And then if you want to go to the floor plans, or yes, here we are right here. You'll see here, there on the first floor is the one that's accessed more towards from the north side on the street with the living and kitchen area, 3 bedrooms and 1.5 baths. And upstairs is an exact replica of it with a nice little porch. And our client is looking to use this as a rental property. And so that's, he wants to be able to get as much as he can out of this property that we designed. This is a modular construction. You can see down the center of that, those are 4 different modules that will be set in place on a foundation in one day. And so it's really, it'll be very interesting when it is delivered.
I love prefab.
What's that?
I love prefab.
Yeah. And we've been out there measuring the street and everything, so we can get our modules in there. Here's our elevations, the front elevation towards Hill Street with the 4 windows, the right elevation towards the river, the west, with the view. And the other 2 elevations that, for the rear and the side. So straightforward siding with some vertical siding at the bottom, asphalt roof, just, and then some little elevations we pulled up and we've created just to show kind of the ideas of what we're doing. And if we get our variances tonight, we'll be at the bar next week to do all of this again.
So, the only question I had was it is Hill Street. Is there a need for fill in order to prevent the house from,
No,
make sure the house is gonna remain where it is versus going down a hill? towards river.
from what we can tell, what we've judged with the property and looking at,
Yeah,
it's a pretty wide property and there's a lot of actual area past the property that's full of trees. It does slope slowly, but there should be, we don't see any reasoning for any type of major retaining wall.
Yeah, if I could, there is I'm Dean Borelli, I'm with my system manager as well. There is a wall right there that it steps down, so you can't see it's behind the trees, so everything is retained up there right now as it is. It's a perfectly flat lot, really, right, because right now, and just for the record, these variances have been approved in the past. We're not asking for any different variances, they were approved in 2016. It's the same exact, variances that were.
Mr. Buchanan, who owns this property, had these done in 16, but now has decided to sell the property. So.
And would you just mind signing in if you haven't already, because we heard it.
I thought that, I was trying not to say anything back there, I'm sorry, guys.
Jamie is a very good note taker, so need those names. And you've already signed in. right?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
I appreciate you guys letting me speak though.
I actually don't have a question about the tandem parking, although I normally do, because we just had the full discussion with tandem parking on State Street underneath the home where if you moved it inside, and also in the subdivided property where if you moved the parking from the front off to the side and did tandem parking to reduce the lot. So for me, it's 2 families, 2 units, 2
And
tandem.
just to note for the board, typically with tandem parking, the board conditions it so that each tandem space is assigned to 1 unit, so you don't have someone blocking in someone else's unit, just so they'll have the 2 tandem spaces per
Yeah.
unit, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Spaces on the left, 1 house, or 1, great, correct. I don't have any other questions. Okay. Could I get a motion to open the public hearing? You guys can separate out.
Motion to open the public hearing, Brian.
Motion second, Chris. We got Brian and Chris. If there are no objections to opening the hearing, public hearing is open. Is there anybody else here to speak on this application? Online, we'll give you 5 seconds to raise your pretend hand. All right, Mike,
Mike, are you on for this application? I'm going to bring you over as a panelist. Hi, Mike.
Hello, hi, can you hear me?
Ken.
Great. Thank you. So we are applying for a zoning.
Oh,
I'm
So
sorry,
Mike-
go ahead.
Mike, this is for 5-7 Hill Street.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm with 41 Sherwood Avenue. I think I'm,
Yep, you guys are next. We'll have you, we'll bring you back.
okay,
just
my
gonna be-
apologies.
2 seconds too early. Hang
No,
in
sir, no worries.
there.
All right, I saw nobody else online. I saw nobody in person. Can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close the public hearing, Brian.
Motion second, Chris.
Brian and then Chris, without objection. Public hearing is closed. Any further questions, last looks? Okay, will we go through the 5 factors, please?
So in determining whether or not to grant a variance, the zoning board must balance the benefit to the applicant against any potential detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the community or neighborhood. In applying this balancing test, the ZBA must consider the following 5 factors. The first factor being whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created by granting the variance.
No, the house looks in line with the same, what is that style of roof? The peaked roof, what is that style? Nobody knows. Anyway, it's within the style from the in character. of the neighborhood.
No detriment.
It's not out of character with, based on the size of the lot there.
The next factor is whether the benefit sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than the area variance.
No, mostly because the parking spaces are required by code. If they don't fit on the property, we would have to be looking at another variance for the street, so that's pretty much a moot point. And, it seems in line with other T-zone applications we've had in terms of the area for front yard setbacks. So no.
Then whether the requested area variances are substantial.
Numerically, but not impact. Specifically with the front yard setback.
Whether the proposed variances would have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district.
I'll take that. Certainly, this is a fairly narrow street, so a dead end street. I think the idea that we have tandem parking here is a good thing because it gets the cars off the street, doesn't disturb the neighbors. And of course, the biggest bang is the fact that we're taking an unused lot and making it a usable piece of property for people to live in.
Right, and also even though this is an undersized lot, it's still meeting all coverage requirements.
Yep, both for building height, impervious surface, building coverage.
Right. So finally, whether the alleged difficulty was self-created, which is relevant to the board's decision, but not necessarily dispositive.
No. It's the restriction of the lot size specifically and our requirement for 2 cars per unit that is forcing the tandem parking and front yard setback issue.
It's not even the parking requirement, it's the fact that tandem parking only counts as
Oh,
one
yes.
space,
Yep, yep.
you know, they're providing for physical parking spaces.
More than enough
tandem.
impervious surface to go. Yep.
Okay, so those are your factors.
Based on that, it seems like we're leaning towards an approval. So could you get a motion to approve this application?
Motion to approve, Brian.
Motion second, Chris.
All right, we've got Brian and then Chris. Do we have to condition the tandem parking per unit?
Yes.
I think we said it, but we'll say it again in this formal way. Each unit gets one side.
Yes,
Great,
understand.
perfect. All right, we can do a roll call vote, please.
Okay, Chris Asensio.
Aye.
Michael Small.
Aye.
Brian Grano.
Aye.
Chair Aberrizak.
Aye. You are approved.
Thank you.
So you're gonna get the resolution signed and then you guys can move forward.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, see you next week.
Next week, Thanksgiving.
All right.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Next up, we have ZBA 23-2025 for 41 Sherwood Avenue. Applicant is seeking area variances for side yard setback for the proposed legalization of a rear yard deck and for front yard setback for the front porch and staircase.
Yes,
All right,
hello.
Brian, you're on.
Hi, yes. So we had this project. We had our original permits back in 2012, and the project was originally completed in 2013. Didn't pass inspection, and we've tried a couple times over the years to get this legalized. And most recently, I involved a new architect, and it came up that the project was going to need a zoning variance for setbacks in the back for an expanded porch that expanded into a deck and some stairs that we put on the front porch for a renovation of the front porch or repair of the front porch.
You mind going to
Sorry, Mr. Ferran, one moment. We've got a commotion in the hallway.
Sure, no problem.
all good.
All right, we're back.
So the variance in the front is for, you can see there's a side set of stairs that we added onto the front porch there that lead onto our driveway so that we can access the porch from the driveway side there. They're short, they're only a few steps high, but they extend off the side of the house there. Very good, thank you. Other than that, the porch was an existing porch that followed the same profile as the porch that was there from when the house was originally built. But it extends out. So we need we're looking to get a variance for that. And then on the back, we built, there used to be a porch there where you see the kitchen door, but that was taken down, and we had built a larger deck that extends out and a staircase that comes down. And we need a variance of, I think, 2 feet that it extends over the setback line for that. And those are the 2 variances we're looking for.
So just to add to that for the board to know, at the time when Mr. Varane applied for these permits back in 2012, he was issued a permit, but he should have been sent to the zoning board at that time to get these variances at that time. But the permit expired. The architects who drew those plans at that time passed away since. Mr. Varane has hired a new architect and is trying to get the variances basically now that it probably should have been applied for back in 2012. And an error of the building department at that time, he was not made aware that he should have applied for those variances then.
All right, sounds good. Anybody have questions, want to look at any of the,
Let's take a look at the sheet here. Always good in an additional Or additional 15.5 feet.
No, existing and proposed, but it is existing because of what's built now or existing what it was before approval?
What's built now.
Okay,
So he needs 15.5 feet for the front yard, then the side yard's a 2 foot setback variance.
questions? Not yet. Maybe something will come up. Do you mind if we look at the photos of the surrounding homes they provided? Thank you. So it looks like the top three, although the first two are the most similar, where the awning roof extends the entire width of the building in 1 and 2, and the third one it kind of does too, but it's much less of a profile because the door is right out front. It looks like that one does as well. That one does only because it's only half of the house. It's a small porch, so it doesn't seem out of character to me.
And as the board knows, they get a lot of these variances.
All right, could I get a motion to open the public hearing?
Motion to open the public hearing, Brian.
Motion second, Chris.
Brian and then Chris, if there's no objection. Public hearing is open. Do we have anybody in person to speak on this application? Crickets, we love it. Anybody online for 41 Sherwood Avenue? All right, great. Can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close the public hearing, Brian.
Motion second, Chris.
Brian and Chris again, if there's no objections. Public hearing is closed. We go through actually, final thoughts, any additional questions?
The only thing I would say is, I think, and Taryn, you can explain this to the board. The numbers that we have for the variances are based off the architect's plans.
Oh, yes.
So they're not from a survey, but it was agreed upon to get the applicant in front of the board to grant the variances. He'll have to get a survey before we can issue a C of O. If there is anything on the survey that's different than what the variance request is here, where per se they would need a larger variance, then he would have to come back to the board for that.
Yeah, so when these were being reviewed, we need the as-built survey with the actual proper dimensions on it. And as Joe said, if the dimensions we approved tonight based on this worksheet end up requiring a larger variance, you will have to come back.
Okay. I do have a surveyor contracted. They will not be able to complete the survey for about a week.
Yeah, tough time of year.
Yeah.
We just hope when the survey comes in that it's kind of similar to the numbers here, or at least where you would need a larger variance, so that we don't have to send you back again. But
Understand.
Joe, they have to provide you the as-built, correct? This doesn't have to be a condition of approval.
that's correct, right? We don't have it. That's what he's waiting for. He said he's hoping to have that done in about a week, so we'll see.
So this wouldn't be a ZBA condition, it's just required.
Yep, got it. Okay, 5 factors, please.
Right, so the first factor is whether granting the requested variances would produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or be detrimental to nearby properties.
I'm gonna say no, it looks in line, it doesn't seem excessive, and it's small variance ask.
Whether the benefit sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than the area variance.
Unfortunately, it's already built, but considering as though it weren't built because it was rebuilt, I would say there is a feasible alternative, because if you shrink on the front porch, at least if it was shrunk on both sides equally, it would pull the porch in.
So the side yard setback is for the rear yard porch.
Mhm.
The front yard porch needs a front yard setback. And I just want to note for the
Not
chair,
side yard.
the 30-foot setback line is actually in the middle of the house.
So no,
So,
that's why she gets paid the big bucks.
oh my God.
Thank you.
We will.
My goodness. Any more on that factor? No? Okay. Whether the requested area variances are substantial.
So, no.
As always, I'm gonna be by the book. Numerically, yes, that's half, it's 50%, but it's not impact significant.
Whether the requested variances will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district.
None presented.
And finally, whether the alleged difficulty is self-created, which determination is relevant to the board but not necessarily dispositive.
Nope, and I'll specifically call out that the permit was already issued and Joe acknowledged because of an error with the building department. They were not told they had to come before the ZBA, so I think that works to their benefit in this case. It seems like we're going for an approval, so could I get a motion to approve, ZBA 23-2025?
Motion to approve CBA
23-2025.
Motion second, Chris.
All right, we got, Mike and then Chris. Michael, all right, roll call vote, please.
All right, Brian Graham,
Aye.
Michael Stahl,
Aye.
Chris Asensio.
Aye.
Garrett Abarita.
Aye. Same as before, are both of these are already built?
Yes.
Still gotta wait for the resolution for it to be finalized,
Yep.
but don't take them down. Great,
Yeah.
thanks,
All right.
Mike.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next up, and I think this is the majority of the audience for the next two that we have. This is continuing business of the board. First up is ZBA 14-2025 for 194 Spring Street. Applicant is seeking an interpretation of zoning code section 270-39F and 270-48 alpha 1. What?
Do we want to take a?
Did you want to briefly?
Oh,
share
yes, I
your advice
did.
of
I
counsel
forgot what
or-
I even asked you. We were just gonna take a brief advice of counsel to make sure
Right.
we're good and we'll be right back. Okay. No vote required for advice of counsel, so we're just gonna go to the room next door and we'll be right back.
Right, with that.
I'm going to restate this one just so we have a clean start for Jamie in the transcript. The next continuing business of the board is ZBA 14-2025, 194 Spring Street. Applicant is seeking an interpretation of zoning code section 270-39F. Welcome back.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Philip Grimaldi. I represent the applicant. I had submitted basically a correspondence, memo of the law, whatever, on October 29th, outlining our position. And I appreciate you giving me the opportunity. I know you had already rendered a decision, but.
Floor is yours.
Well, I really can't say more. I know that in your code, in the table of use regulations, it states that a multifamily is not permitted, but, in many other codes, they talk about, square footage, lot area per unit. Like if you have a zone where with a 5,000 square foot minimum and two family houses, they'll say, well, 2,500 square feet per housing unit, dwelling unit, and that's another way of looking at it. Again, just to basically summarize what I had said, I just don't believe it's a non-conforming use because the character of that use is residential, and and again, I mentioned that I think it's illogical that you could expand the building by 10% as of right, but yet you can't, expand into the basement. And I put in my reasons in my letter, why I felt that, we were entitled to do this. The ceiling in the basement was 6 feet high, and doesn't necessarily mean it wasn't planned for residential use down there. The things I didn't say was before I was retained on this case. I guess the architect had mentioned that he was given a permit in 2008 and did work pursuant to that permit.
We'll get back to that.
All right, we'll get back to that. All right, but anyway, that's my position. He basically wanted me to come in and raise issues with the interpretation, and that's what I did. So
Just a couple points of clarification. So the 10%, so the applicant can expand up to 10% as of right. The issue was that the expansion he was proposing was beyond 10%, requiring the variance.
well, I thought that was the physical building. That has nothing to do with the living area. If you look at that, it says about the building area.
Yeah, and I have
then-
your notes here, and what I'll do for the benefit of the record is I will read both of those code excerpts because they should be taken together, not separately, or else they're contradicting. But I did want to say, we just mentioned that the tenant or the applicant said to you they did work according to the permit. Not true at all. We actually discussed that in detail. He submitted the plans to us that were approved. He never applied for a certificate of occupancy and got it granted, but the plan that was approved, he completely changed it illegally and did something different.
Okay.
So that was.
I wasn't here, so I.
No, I know,
No, we
but
did.
it's in the notes, it's in the record as part of the submitted documents. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear. So prior to that, it was the ceiling height was not a legal ceiling height for residential use. The floor was dirt floor. There were no interior walls separating for different bedrooms. There was a fuel furnace in there, which is still in there in one of the bedrooms, and there were no egress windows for any of the bedrooms, which are required by law. So the two codes, I actually wrote some notes so I don't misspeak here. So when we're talking about 270-39F1, one of the two that we have to consider, that allows expansion into interior areas originally designed for the non-conforming use, not just residential. But the second part, F2, limits expansions of non-conforming residential uses to 10%, whether internally or externally.
I don't know if it says that because it says maybe enlarged or extended in accordance with the dimensional regulations. So you're talking about something that's physically expanding the building. Doing something inside doesn't conflict with the dimensional regulations because you're not expanding the footprint or
So
anything.
are area variances part of dimensional regulations?
So let me ask you something.
Well, no, are the area variances that are required?
Kyle, if I may.
Yeah.
I think a clear point of discussion here is, our dimensional requirements
Include
also
living area.
include livable floor area requirements, which is an internal
Right,
measure of space.
right, and that's what, if you're talking about that, I don't know if as an alternative, if you're gonna uphold the application of the bill, which you already did, you upheld his application, his interpretation, we could come back with some kind of area variance, if the board would consider that. I only addressed the interpretation here.
Yeah, because the variance was already decided, voted on, and a
okay.
resolution was written and signed and delivered to the applicant. So today, we're only speaking about the interpretation
Right.
and whether we are upholding the Joe's interpretation or not.
So, the reason I'm asking is, again, you said you're gonna hold everything in abeyance, so I could submit a letter. I don't know.
We were gonna hold this in abeyance because it wasn't formally resolved and signed, even though we voted on it.
The entire resolution denying, upholding the interpretation and denying the area variance.
There were two different resolutions.
Okay,
One is for the variance, one is for the interpretation at your request, at the applicant's request.
okay,
The applicant did not originally request an interpretation. We denied the application. He then requested that we in an interpretation. So he did it out of order. He should have requested them both at the same time if he wanted them considered.
Okay, well, again, I wasn't here.
You know, you
for
kind of
that.
got thrown into this,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but just for, point of clarification for the record, this originated as an area variance application, and then the applicant's architect requested interpretation, raising a lot of the arguments that you raised, so they filed an interpretation request. The board proceeded to vote on both of those, but because of the applicant didn't have representatives present, he requested the interpretation was to be reheard. So we allowed the applicant to represent his interpretation arguments.
So on this specific, you were not the first person to ask for an interpretation on this specific part of the code.
Right.
On that interpretation, we upheld Joe, the building inspector's decision. We have not always upheld Joe's decision, but on this one, we have.
Yeah.
On different kinds of properties, and because of how the code's written and because of how we voted in the past, this request comes with a 44% increase and 123% increase, which is wildly beyond anything we've considered, including the applicant who's after you with a similar issue, although there's different circumstances. So, but we're not here to talk about the variance itself because that's already been voted
Right,
on.
I understand that.
So one thing we asked for is new evidence or new proof that something has materially changed since we last discussed this. We did get your letter, which has your arguments in it, but nothing in there to me is different than what was already discussed in terms of the arguments that were made. Yours are more in depth, but
Well, again, I think one of the things I had mentioned, and I cited that old Court of Appeals case, was that, it's not necessarily a non-conforming use because it's not changing the basic use, it's still residential. So,
that's where we disagree with you though.
well,
Because
okay.
it was a dirt floor, low ceiling that wasn't legalized with no egress, so it wasn't designed for residential
Just to
use.
clarify, I've read the decision, so the zoning code has a defined use for multifamily dwellings
Yeah.
and two-family dwellings, so under this zoning code, a multifamily dwelling use is a non-conforming use.
I understand, yeah, I mentioned that one, but yeah,
Yes.
but whatever, it's an argument that I make and I made before. So I guess that's it, there's no, again, I came in here late, I guess we can't appeal the denial of the variance at this point. I don't know when that resolution was
That was
filed. with the
July
County
20.
clerk or the village clerk.
I have that in here. Application was denied by the zoning board at its meeting on June 10th, 2025.
Okay, so
So that was
I-
filed in July.
I didn't come in
Yeah.
till October, so I would be late either way, so.
But at the same time, they didn't show up to their first meeting for the interpretation that they requested. Then they didn't show up for the next, or didn't provide any new documents for the next 3 months, and so we said last month that this is the last one for this, and if you decide to pursue additional action, that'll be you if your applicant's ready.
Right, well, we have that, right, but I don't know if I could maybe meet with the building inspector one day and see if there's any alternatives that we could do, maybe that might be more amenable to the board, I don't know.
We already denied the variance though, so it's,
Great.
Right, so something different, maybe a different floor plan, a smaller area, I don't know.
They
Some-
couldn't bring the same variance request if they could materially change the plan where it's not the same thing you guys were looking at. The board can consider it again, but they can't just come back with the same plan again.
No, I meant maybe something that maybe is more acceptable to the board on a smaller scale, I don't know, something
Well,
like that.
the one thing I will say is unlike the planning board, we can't really pre-negotiate.
No, I
accept
understand
it,
that.
But,
That's why I wanted to meet with the building inspector, maybe something that he thinks is not too,
I mean, it's the applicant's right to
Right.
pursue a different avenue, but, that would be addressing the variance. Did you still want us to vote tonight on the interpretation?
I think the board needs to do it.
well, you have to do that if we want to pursue anything, but again, that's just one avenue, like I said, another one is maybe trying to get
I
a.
would look at the plans that he submitted that were approved
Mhm,
from over 15 years ago.
mhm.
That he submitted, he submitted a FOIL request and got those. They're in the
Mhm.
public record on the website,
Mhm.
right where this agenda is. You should look at those because you would probably base it off of that.
Okay, Alright.
Another thing to address, just so you're aware, I'm sure you are, when I went to survey the property, the windows that were in his original plan are all concrete boarded up, which is not safe and is against code, so you'd have to consider that whole
okay,
open.
all right, that's fine. So I guess,
So does anybody have any questions before
Or any comments?
I'm good.
clarifications? With this, just to refresh my memory, do we open a public hearing for, okay,
Yes.
all right, so we'll have time for additional questions if anything comes up, but for right now, we're gonna see if we can get a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion to open the public hearing, Brian.
motion second, Chris.
Brian and then Chris, if there are no objections. Public hearing is open. Do we have anybody other than the applicant here to speak on this application? As I stare at you. Thank you. Mike is still online. Unless I see a raised hand, I doubt he's here. He's just having fun watching. Can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close public hearing, Brian.
Seconded, Mike.
You're given that chance. It's Brian, then Mike. If there are no objections to closing the public hearing. Public hearing is now closed and the launch is off. All right, so there is no 5-factor review for this, so this will be our last opportunity to have any discussion before we vote. The vote would probably be presented as we're voting to deny, which is what we did before. So if you vote yes or aye, you're upholding Joe's decision. If you vote nay or no, you are not upholding Joe's decision. That's how the vote would go.
So that to me again.
Exactly. If we present the vote as a motion to deny
Yes.
the applicant's interpretation, you'd be supporting Joe's interpretation.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Or we can flip it, whatever is easier for you guys.
Before we proceed to a vote, Mr. Chair, did you want to really kind of address any of the
Yes, so
arguments that were raised?
I do.
By
I have
counsel?
specific notes. I'm just gonna read them because I'm not a lawyer, and so it takes me a long time to look at the stuff and think about it. So there's 3 points, and then I've already addressed part of the last one. So according to what we discussed previously, intensification of a non-conforming residential use is not just adding dwelling units. This is what we've done in similar cases. Legalizing the basement space would add 2 to 3 bedrooms to each unit, which would intensify residential activity on the property. And intensification for us is physical people, traffic or potential for traffic, waste management, water use, etc. Noise.
Does the board have any thoughts about that?
Thank you for slowing me down. The second point is the applicant has not provided any evidence that the basement was obviously or manifestly arranged or designed, which is coming from your argument, only for residential use at the time it was rendered non-conforming. So even though you stated that the house was built in 1890 and the applicant was arguing that because it was built in 1890, prior non-conforming, it doesn't matter because this work was done in 2006 and after 2006, and while that work was done, it was done to the original basement with a dirt floor, with no walls, with a furnace inside of it. So I disagree, and it's up for the board to decide if they do too, that it was not obviously or manifestly arranged or designed only for residential use.
And again, there was the question about the ceiling height and the egress windows.
Yeah, and the record suggests, this is what we discussed again today. The basement was never intended as livable space, demonstrated by the proposal to increase the ceiling height because it wasn't legally high enough. Installation of egress windows, which didn't exist, and in the bedrooms, and putting walls there and adding a concrete floor. Any questions, thoughts on that? Okay, the third and final point that we discussed was code does not say that 10% expansion or enlargement is limited to exterior only, is what we discussed earlier tonight. The expansion or enlargement must be in accordance with the dimensional regulations, and dimensional regulations in Ossining are livable area, which is only inside the building. There is no livable area outside the building, as one example. And this code section applies to footprint expansions as well as internal expansions. And we read the code together. So 270-39 F1 and F2. F1 allows expansions into interior areas originally designed for the non-conforming use, not just residential. And F2 limits expansions of non-conforming residential uses to 10%, whether internally or externally. And so that is generally, we somewhat restated that today. That was discussed before. My position will come up in the vote, but I think I've said several. I need to say, do you guys have any additional thoughts, questions, concerns? Do you want to share anything?
Not really. I mean, just what I put in the letter. Again, I disagree with those arguments, but it's in the letter and whatever.
Okay.
So,
Thank you for coming back to present. Thank you for representing the client. We've extended 5 times. We really were trying to give them the best chance they could to succeed with this. One consideration for tonight is, although you did make a lot of arguments in the letter, there is no new evidence. There's no new documentation since we made this decision previously, and so that is also a consideration. So do we go to a vote, please? And
So you
oh
make a
yes,
motion.
I did not make a motion. So the motion, I'm gonna flip it. How would we? Could we get a motion to uphold the building inspector's interpretation
And to deny the applicant.
and to deny the applicant's interpretation? Great.
So moved, Brian.
Seconded Mike.
Brian and then Mike, and roll call vote, please.
Okay, Chris Asensio.
Aye.
Michael Spall.
Aye.
Brian Granoff.
Aye.
Chair Aparizic.
Aye. I don't think it's a terrible surprise, but we do have next steps. I would suggest reaching out to Joe because we will formalize the resolution in a couple weeks. I'll sign it, they'll send it out.
Okay.
And then we'll see what happens next.
okay, great.
All right,
Thank you.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right, last on the agenda is, I think, 7 Lincoln. Yes, ZBA 13/2025. This is for 7 Lincoln Place. They're returning. Applicant is seeking an area variance to extend a non-conforming use by constructing additional livable space in the existing attic of a 4-family residence located in a 2-family zone district. Hello, welcome back.
Good evening.
All right,
My name's Jody Cross. I'm from the firm Zarin and Steinmetz. I'm here tonight with Tim Burog and Sarah Lynn, who are the owners and applicants. Also here with JB Hernandez, the architect, who I guess you all know. So.
we know by JB, so
So
he's on half our application.
as you mentioned, we're here in connection with 7 Lincoln. And although this may sound similar to the last application, and there will be some overlaps, they are very different factually. By way of background, and I'm sorry if you've heard this, I know this is the second time it's been here,
Doesn't
but
hurt to restate it.
I'd like to
They've
restate.
been here several times. You guys have been here once, twice,
Their second.
just one. It was your second
My
time.
first time.
Your first,
So.
floor is yours.
Thank you. So as you know, this property is improved with a pre-existing non-conforming 4-unit dwelling. It's in the village's 2-family district. Tim and Sarah purchased this dwelling with the intent of living in the largest unit, raising their family there, using the rental income to cover, offset the costs of owning the house. And they're also looking to expand their living space to make room for their growing family and to set down roots in the community. So right now, the unit has 3 bedrooms and 1 bathroom on the second floor. The unit also has a third floor attic, which has an illegal guest room. It's existed at the time my clients purchased the property, but there is a 4th room upstairs. Although it's a residential use attic, the 3rd floor is only approved for conditioned storage at this time. So they want to use the 3rd floor to create office space for the applicants. They work from home for most of the time, so they need separate areas so they could do their Zooms and calls. They want a play area and a family area for their child or children they're expecting. They are looking for a second bathroom up there because 4 people need a second bathroom. And also a laundry and utility room. They will keep the existing guest room upstairs, but they're going to eliminate a room downstairs, so the overall legal count remains 3. Which I think is different than also what you've heard on prior applications. So we're actually reducing the bedroom count. So even though right now there's only 3 legal, there are actually 4 bedrooms, so we're reducing that. Also, there's a stairwell that leads up to the 3rd floor now. It's narrow. It's a little dangerous for kids, so they want to renovate that, open up the space and make a more cohesive single unit. And again, I just want to state for the record, it's in our letter, the applicants understand that they cannot make a 5th illegal unit. They also intend to completely use it as part of their dwelling space. So just to be clear, there's no intent for further nonconformities. So that said, I want to turn to the application. Actually, similar to the last application, this started as a variance application, but when they brought me on, I also looked at those zoning provisions 39 and 39F. And I read them actually similarly, where it reads to me that sub 1 talks about expanding the use within the structure, and sub 2 talks about expanding the structure. Now, I understand what you're saying, that if you expand the structure, you still have to comply with the dimensional regulations, which includes living space. But my reading of that provision is that it's not even triggered unless you're doing a physical expansion. Obviously, the board seems to disagree with me, but I think that's the reading of it. And you had 2 attorneys come up and read it that way. So I'll also posit that it's at minimum, it's ambiguous. And if it's ambiguous, it should be interpreted in the landowner's favor. But that said, if you want me to stop, if you want to talk about that,
No,
but
and
I'll go to the alternative.
the other home, different situation, also the number of times they've come and how many extensions we've granted was as a courtesy is also a different situation. Have we had an Article 78 proceeding regarding the expansion past 10%?
Not this code provision. And also, I just want to note, like procedurally, this is filed as a variance application. So the board can certainly hear the interpretation request, but if you want the board to actually act on the interpretation request, you would have to file an actual application for it.
So I hear what you're saying. I understand that. And if we needed to do that, we can. But I also think that the zoning board within its jurisdiction could make a determination that should have been made in the first instance. So just in your inherent jurisdiction, you can make that determination that a variance isn't required.
And I don't know if you were able to look at the transcript from the last meeting, but the comments that we made were similar to other structures we've seen, including people physically expanding their structure. For example, there was one gentleman expanding, they were taking an accessory structure, 2-car garage down. They were building it attached to the house and expanding into the upstairs of that 2. We judged that situation the same as we've judged this one. These are not the only 2. 10%. Going past 10% as of right for non-conforming use is something that comes up somewhat regularly to varying degrees of success. But we have rarely, if ever, gone past 10% by much. And so what I think is important to look at here is, like, the first thing that comes up to me is it looks like there's a lot of closets. There's a lot of storage space on the
They are using for storage space as
Exactly.
well. And that's how they try to minimize how much space they're asking for.
And
They would rather, honestly, they would love to get rid of some of that closet space and make larger rooms, but they try to minimize it to the extent that makes sense for feasible usage.
so I guess my concern, and not concern to your pro or con, the thing that I want to bring up in a meeting is the biggest difference to start with is that this attic has an interior stair from the unit below it. The last one did not, and still does not, even though they illegally created apartments underneath there. So it could be interpreted that this space may have been intended for residential use where the other one does not. This does not have a dirt floor. I believe you have a ceiling height approval from New York State.
We do. I believe it's a 6'2" height, and we do have a variance from the state that we submitted, a copy of this.
Is the roof like this internally, or is it straight across?
It domes up, so it's 6'2" at the very edges,
Yeah,
it goes
that's
up
right.
higher than 7.
Which is why the storage is there.
Yes,
Correct.
6'2" is the minimum, isn't it?
You had mentioned the fact that there was a bedroom you would eliminate on the main floor, main living floor right now.
That we will be eliminating that if,
Is that shown on the
Yeah,
plan?
it's right at the top of the stairs on the top right.
so the one downstairs that's being eliminated, is that the one you're asking about?
Yes, you said there was going to be one eliminated.
Yes, that will be, it's marked now as a living room. It'll be
Okay.
like a family gathering area.
Why would you take a room like that and then substitute a attic bedroom for that?
Well, they want to have a living space and it makes sense to have it on the lower level. The upstairs would be a guest room, so it would be separated from the main family. And this way they're getting rid of one room to keep the legal room count, the same, as not to increase the intensity.
Is there any rules with regard to stairway width from a second floor to an attic in order to allow?
No, this is a
bedroom?
legitimate full
And
staircase.
also to note, can we go to the cover letter, if you don't mind? They're actually proposing to open up that existing staircase, so it'll look like your traditional internal stair from one level to another. So if you scroll down, if you wouldn't mind, Maddie.
And this is just a sample picture. This isn't exactly, but it's the
But it's the
concept.
concept
Thank you.
conceptually. So left is generally what's existing. You know, it's an internal staircase. The right is what they're generally proposing to do. So it's
Yeah.
gonna look like your typical first or second
Well, I thought
stair.
this was an important point of view with regard to safety and the
Right.
Right.
issues with regard.
It would
to-
be with that skinny stairway.
Yes, exactly right. So, especially since you're giving up a bedroom down below in exchange.
So it's very much gonna look like one
Mhm.
cohesive unit between the first,
Okay,
the
gotcha.
second.
Glad I saw this picture.
Thanks for asking that question.
Thank
Anybody
you for
else
bringing that up, Tara.
have something to check out? Any questions? Do you want to see?
And I'm happy to go through the variance factors as well, so as an alternative.
And depending on how the board decides to vote, what's really important is we state why this is different if we decide to approve it than other ones we have not approved.
Understood.
And we'll do that during our 5-factor review.
Alright.
But last look, so you'll have another chance after the public hearing.
One of the items that you guys.
Introduce yourself.
All right, please sign in.
David Hernandez, architecture. One of the items that the board had brought up last time was why not create bedrooms downstairs? And if you look, this is the perfect picture. The location and the size of these windows and the historical aspect of this building will be, it does not allow to start dividing into smaller room.
Okay.
So in other words, it would take away from the beauty of the building and would change the external presentation.
Right.
Whereas we're proposing now, yes, we're gonna put in some windows in the back, but you're not going to see anything from the outside. There are no physical changes being proposed, no expansion, no footprint change, et cetera.
Although this is not directly a part of the application tonight, it is a consideration because it would interrupt the space you're asking about. With the geothermal system that the applicant was looking to get permitted and go ahead with, I'm assuming that ductwork would have to be up here
Yes,
in the space.
Yes.
Is that the,
that will be part of the storage.
Got
This is the perimeter, so the ductwork. Sorry.
So it won't take away from any of the livable space. It's around in the,
yeah, and because the roof is not drop ceiling, it's peak,
Yeah.
I was just curious.
Especially some of the lowest areas of the ceiling versus the closet there. There's gonna be a ductwork and you see.
I saw
You go up.
window
Yeah.
seat ductwork, which is why I was curious.
Go up a little bit. You will see there's a window seat
Mhm.
That's created because ductwork runs under the windows.
And there's no change to the exterior of the home for that work,
No.
other than maybe an intake or something.
Correct. These are changes that would be made regardless of whether this application was
The
granted or not.
referral was approved by the department,
Great.
so that's settled.
So regardless of what happens tonight, they will be using that space for conditioned storage at a minimum.
Hmm.
I'm happy to go through the 5 factors, if the board
We might
wants.
get a little, I won't say it'll get contentious, but it'll, I think, I don't think we need to do that for this application.
Then I
but
will not.
appreciate it. Because it's already outlined.
Actually, would you mind discussing for the board, I guess, feasible alternatives to the variance? I think that's an
Sure.
important.
Feasible
I-
alternatives is usually the one thing, even though it is just one of the 5, it can have a heavy pull on the others,
Of course.
because technically there are feasible alternatives, so.
So the question is, are there feasible alternatives to accomplish the benefit being sought by the applicant, which is increasing living space? Because obviously, one alternative is to not do anything and to live in a smaller space, but that
Yeah.
doesn't achieve the benefit they're seeking. Question came up, can you take over space of one of the existing units? Because it is a 4-unit pre-existing non-conforming dwelling. It would actually be a significantly higher cost because the other units are standalone units. They have full housekeeping, you got a whole kitchen, you've got a full living space. So to then make it a cohesive unit throughout would be a lot more work, a lot more effort, a lot more time, and would take away one of the income streams they have in order to cover their costs for the home.
And so I appreciate the argument. We don't have numbers that actually back up that argument, but I get it. It makes sense. It's rational.
Again, feasible is really the operative word there. And it's a balancing test. This isn't a use variance where each and every single factor. has
Yeah,
to
if I were looking to feasible alternatives, that one would seem less likely to be feasible. One that would be feasible would be shrinking the expansion of the non-conforming use in the attic.
So just as to that point, and we did talk about this, and I talked to the clients, even if we were to take away and shrink those living spaces and keep the storage bigger, the impacts are not going to change. It'll just minimize the space they have. So it actually, yes, it's a feasible alternative to have less space, but again, it doesn't accomplish their goal of having, their living area for their growing family.
Appreciate it. Trying to get all of your arguments on the record.
Sure.
In the meeting, for a very specific reason, which you can probably guess. Before we open the public hearing, any questions? You'll have a chance to ask questions again after. Okay. Did I get a motion to open public hearing?
Motion to open the public hearing, Brian.
Seconded Mike.
We got Brian and then Mike. If there's no objections, public hearing is now open. I know the applicants are here and we spoke to them last time. I know JB's here. Anybody else here that has new information, supporting information?
It's not necessary if you don't.
Yeah, we just have to give the opportunity. And unless Mike is coming back. So here's the consideration. With the public hearings, we have adjourning and closing. Adjourning would be if you don't think we would be able to make a decision tonight. Closing would mean that's the end of the story. We are voting tonight. So
I'm leaning towards closing.
I'm leaning towards closing too.
Yes.
Okay, great. Just
So
wanted
last call, is there anybody here to speak on this?
no, I looked all of them in the eye and didn't see anybody.
They're all with us.
Yeah, we're looking at the young lady.
I do think,
Okay, we just wanted to make sure it didn't.
I do think it's important that we not send a signal to the residents of the village that you can take any attic and convert it into whatever you want to make it and be non-conforming. I think this, as we'll point out in a few minutes, I think it's always a different situation here.
Right, and each decision stands on its own merits.
It does.
So I don't want
People-
to send that.
No, but people can and have argued
Yeah.
precedence based regardless of
Yeah.
what's, the board has been swayed by precedence arguments before,
Yeah.
so that is why for this, it's really important because we vote on this and we've consistently voted on it one way. Your situation is materially different, and so I want to be very clear about that and why, depending on how the vote goes, to address Mike's point exactly.
Mhm.
So could I get a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close.
Second than Mike.
We have Chris, then Mike. Without further objections or any objections, public hearing is closed. All right, so this would be our final opportunity before we go to the 5 factors to ask any last minute questions. Just to summarize some of the key points that I think that are different. This home has an internal staircase, and they are modifying the already existing internal staircase to make it more in line with a unified, cohesive multi-story dwelling within that structure. They are not adding a bedroom upstairs. That they want to legalize a bedroom that's up there, but they're removing a bedroom from the 2nd floor to accommodate the fact that they don't want to increase the intensity of use. They are surrounding the perimeter in storage and some ductwork. They are adding a laundry room, which I believe you currently don't have, right?
We do not have.
So that's a needed utility that they're not adding, to me, excessively. They are adding a bathroom, but how many bathrooms do you have? One?
Just one.
That makes sense. I have a townhouse and I have 2 bathrooms, so. That's not relevant. That's not relevant at all.
I decided
Sorry,
not
one
to
and a
buy an
half.
apartment once, so we only had
It's
one.
one and a
bathroom.
half. It's 1.5.
That's what they call a powder room.
Yeah. So it makes sense, and it looks like on an Apple device, all the lines show up. So would you mind going back to the
Mhm.
existing and proposed attic floor plan? And zooming into the bottom half? I see a proposed office. I think very clearly we know, but for the record, not to be used as a bedroom.
Correct.
Existing chimney to remain. There's the widened staircase
Mhm.
version that they showed us.
And again, there are 2 proposed offices just because both parents work at home.
Storage, bathroom. All right, me personally, although you all get to decide too, I'm ready for 5 factors and have no additional questions.
Same.
Same.
Okay,
All right. So again, in determining whether or not to grant the variance, the board must balance the benefit to the applicant against any detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community. You've got your 5 factors you must consider. The first factor is whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created by granting the variance.
I think the house is gonna look largely the same as it does from the outside in its historical structure. And I think those are important things so the neighbors aren't even know that this taking place within the structure.
and I think, does intensity apply to character of the neighborhood?
Sure.
Would that be, because by removing one bedroom to replace it with one that's illegally pre-existing, I think that is a good compromise to keep the intensity from increasing.
Absolutely.
Exactly right. Well, wait a second though. Parking. We need to
No
discuss
change
that.
to parking, it's still one.
It's still one unit,
Still
that
one
same
unit.
unit. Then the next factor is whether the benefit sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance.
So I have a mixed answer on this, but that doesn't mean that we're running. I do believe there is a feasible alternative. I do not believe that feasible alternative is taking over another space. Even though we've seen no dollars and cents financial evidence to prove that would be a hardship, it would make sense and would be rational to assume
Yeah.
losing income for a space that large would be, so I have no problem with that. I do think there's a feasible alternative upstairs by removing the 2 offices, because while we would love to have additional separate working spaces, it's not technically required. So I'm like 50-50 on that, yes, no,
Right.
feasible alternative.
I do have a clarification for the record though. How many different residents will be living in this facility? In other words, we have the family that's gonna be expanding to the attic. That's one family, right?
Correct.
Then we have 2 apartments down below.
So everybody else that's there is already existing non-conforming
Correct.
use. And there's no, to my knowledge, there hasn't been a presentation or any change to any of those.
Okay,
So they're all still the 4 family.
that's what I wanted to hear for the record.
Yeah.
That is accurate.
Anyone add to that?
This is a feasible alternative?
Again, it's the feasible alternative to providing the laundry room and the office space. and-
No, so I do think, considering feasible alternative, you had a prior non-conforming illegal room upstairs. You did an accommodation to maintain the intensity of use. You're also widening the stairs that were already pre-existing, so I think there were some good compromises that helps this stay in line with a residential home that is in line with the intention of our code, even if it's not to the letter.
The next factor is whether the requested area variance is substantial. So just for the record, they're proposing a 62.19% increase. They're allowed 10% by right, so the variance is 52.19%.
I acknowledge that to my knowledge, we've never approved something numerically this large. But in this case, with the maintenance of the same intensity of use, putting on the record that those are not to be used for bedrooms, I feel comfortable with that individually.
I agree.
And again, there's no visual impact.
No, there's no
So the
impact to
rest of the
the outside of the
neighborhood, it's
home.
gonna,
Mine is something they're already approved for that has nothing to do with this variance.
right,
And
right.
Taryn did say that every case rests on its own merit, so I
Yeah.
think we're tailoring. the
It does,
decision
even
to
though
this
if
one.
people would argue against it, but I think this is unique among the ones we previously decided.
Follow precedent, like when it makes sense to follow, but everything can be distinguished. So
Exactly.
Even though I don't think I would feel that way if, this was a full rental, the entire building was a rental.
I would agree with.
the fact that it is owner occupied, it's the
Mhm.
applicant's benefit, so it is
Yeah,
a little bit different from the prior situation where it was a full rental.
Mm.
So the next factor is whether the proposed variance would have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district.
No, because there's no increase in intensity and no change to the external part of the property. My 2 cents.
Agreed.
And finally, whether the alleged difficulty is self-created, which is relevant to the board's decision, but not necessarily dispositive.
This one is also a flip up for me because I do believe it is a yes and no, depending on how you look.
I think it's certainly self-created. I mean, they're the ones that want the additional space. But they've just given us a reasonable alternative with regard to, how to create that space. So,
I'm gonna go with that because I'm wishy-washy.
Again, like.
But it's not
Not
determinative,
determinative.
so
yeah.
based on what we discussed, I believe we're leaning towards an approval. So what I'm gonna do is ask for a motion to approve this application as it stands. I do not think we would need to ask for conditional conditions.
No, I mean, it's the plan.
Because
that
it's
you-
assumed you can't turn those other office spaces into bedrooms in the future.
The plan is the plan.
Great.
Motion to approve, Brian.
Motion second, Chris.
We got Brian and then Chris. And can we get a roll call vote, please?
Okay, Chris Asensio.
Aye.
Michael Spall.
Aye.
Brian Grano.
Aye.
Chair Aberrizak.
Aye,
Thank you very much.
congratulations.
Thank you.
I've been looking at that differently right at the beginning, but we really had to go through all of those. So thank you so much.
I
and
appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
You too, all the best.
All right, that is the end. Actually, that's literally the end for once of our agenda. Can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting till?
Before you
Oh,
do
yes,
that.
yes.
Oh, no, I don't know what you think I'm gonna say.
December.
Well, that and something else.
Oh,
We have no meeting in December, the last meeting of the year.
Oh.
I was gonna talk about the holiday party.
oh, yeah.
Wait, should I stay?
You're very welcome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a pleasure.
Thank you all, by the way.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yes, good night.
your house is so beautiful.
It is.
Can I go inside window?
I felt weird walking your property with them there, but very nice. of-
Such a jam, right?
Yeah, it's a fan.
It's very special.
Really enjoy.
Thank you very much. Good night. I just wanted to mention, that on Friday, December
Is this
5th.
for public?
Yes,
Oh, okay, great.
yeah, it's open to the public, but of course, we always want to encourage our volunteer board and committee members to come. What? You can come, yes.
Yes.
It goes into the public. We provide lunch. It's basically the annual meeting for the town and village. So there is a meeting component to it. We do go through some of our accomplishments. We welcome new staff. We celebrate retirements, things of that nature. But it's a really great time. I know the chair has been in the
Yeah, it's
past.
fun. It was cute.
Yeah, it's great.
a very
So
good
it's a chance to see everybody else in a different.
It's in the gym at the rec center.
In the gym at the rec center. And we pull out all the decorations. It's
Amazing
very,
Tables everywhere.
very charming.
Everywhere.
yeah. So that was all. I'm sorry.
No, appreciate it.
Yeah.
When is it?
It's Friday, December 5th. I think it's
You
June.
should have received an email to your village. I don't know. Was it sent to our village?
It was sent to the village employee list.
Got it. Which we are actually on, because I get those.
I was gonna say you
Yeah.
ought to be.
Nice.
It's at noon,
To 3.
noon to 3, and then that same evening is the annual tree lighting at Market Square. This group may know, and the folks online definitely know. We had to say goodbye to our holiday tree in Market Square. It has long since deceased, and has been begging for quite some time to be relieved. So because we're doing some development in that neighborhood, which the board is also very much aware of. It was decided that each year we're going to buy a pretty sturdy tree to have the holiday tree lighting, and then we're gonna plant it in one of our parks until we decide exactly what the configuration is going to be.
Now that I can get behind.
That was all.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Mike, if you're still here, you're not, I don't think, but come on to the village meeting on December 5th, noon to 3. What's he gonna ask before?
I'm sorry.
we wrap up? No,
So no December meeting.
so no December meeting, so it was decided that
They're
they
good.
don't have to
They're
come
good.
back.
They're fine.
Great.
Yep.
Then we're meeting at Village Hall in January, right? Are we moving
We are not yet ready to
Okay.
move the meetings in. I know it's not my fault.
No, I know, it's audio. It's not-
Physics. We're working on the sound and video components, so we're hoping for February.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah.
Love that.
Could I get a motion to adjourn the meeting till January?
Motion adjourned. Second is Brian.
We got Chris and then Brian, without any objections. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Joe. Thanks,
Thank
Jamie.
you.
Thank you.
Happy
Happy holidays.